Have you ever found yourself staring blankly, wondering why your mind clutches onto the lyrics of a song you heard on a rainy afternoon 10 years ago, yet lets the name of the co-worker you met last week slip through your fingers like sand? It's a curious, almost maddening quirk, one that hints at the sprawling, unpredictable landscape lurking within us all. Welcome to Stoic Way, where we're not just pondering these mysteries, we're diving headlong into them, ready to unearth 11 astonishing truths about the human mind that might just shift the ground beneath your feet. This isn't a casual stroll through random facts, it's a deep expedition into the mechanics of your thoughts, emotions, and decisions, from the elusive dance of memory to the subtle, unseen sway of colors on your daily choices. Rooted in the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy, these revelations offer more than fascination. They're practical tools to sharpen your concentration, soothe the storms of stress, and awaken a resilience you didn't know you possessed. Think of this as a map to your inner world, a chance to wrestle with the chaos of your psyche and emerge not just informed, but transformed. So, take a moment, settle in, and let's embark on this journey together, because understanding the wild workings of your mind isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's the bedrock of living a fuller, more deliberate life. Have you ever dreamed of a mind that works like a flawless camera, capturing every page of a textbook, every detail of a fleeting moment with crystalline precision? It's a tantalizing vision, one that's fueled legends of genius and superhuman recall, but science throws cold water on the fantasy. There's no definitive evidence that a truly photographic memory exists in its purest form. Yet, some individuals stride so close to that myth they make you question the boundaries of possibility. Consider Solomon Ness, Sky, a Russian journalist whose memory turned him into a marvel. He could sit in a room, hear a list of 50 random words, numbers, nonsense syllables, lines of poetry and languages he'd barely grasped, in hours, days, even years later, recite them back without missing a beat. His trick wasn't some divine endowment, it was a technique called the memory palace. In his mind, he built sprawling imaginary mansions, each room alive with vivid details. A number might dangle from a glowing chandelier, a word drift like smoke from a roaring fireplace, a verse hum from a creaking floorboard. He tied every piece of information to a sensory anchor: sights, sounds, textures, even emotions, crafting a mental theater so rich he could wander back anytime, plucking facts like fruit from a tree. Then there's Kim Peek, the real-life inspiration for the film Rain Man. He'd pick up a hefty novel, say, a 400-page Dickens classic, read it once in an afternoon, and later that night, recite entire chapters word for word, down to the punctuation. His mind was a vault of trivia, historical dates, city maps, phone directories. He could tell you the weather in Chicago on March 3, 1958, or the area code for a small town in Nevada, all without hesitation. But this brilliance came with shadows. Kim couldn't button his own shirt, struggled to follow a simple recipe, and tested below average on IQ scales, his daily life a puzzle his memory couldn't solve. These stories lift the veil on memory's true nature. It's not a passive filing cabinet, but an active, intricate tapestry, woven from how we connect and contextualize what we learn. Sky's palace wasn't a birthright, he honed it through relentless practice. Peek's gift was a raw and aimed force, both blessing and burden. For the rest of us, perfection may be a mirage, but progress isn't. You can borrow their tools, link a new colleague's name to a quirky image, imagine Sarah as a pirate with a parrot, and with consistent effort, your recall can stretch far beyond what you'd expect. It's a Stoic lesson. Your mind's limits aren't fixed, they're yours to push, a canvas awaiting your deliberate brushstrokes up. Colors aren't just splashes on a canvas, they're silent conductors of your inner symphony. Walk into a fast food joint, and you're greeted by a blaze of red and yellow. This isn't random flair, it's a calculated pull on your psyche. Red is raw energy, a primal flare that quickens your heartbeat, stirs your appetite, and nudges you with an urgent whisper: act now, eat fast. Yellow, by contrast, is a burst of sunshine, warm, inviting, snagging your attention while lifting your mood just enough to keep you from overthinking that greasy burger. Together, they're a tag team, hustling you through the line, into your meal, and out the door before you question the calories. Car manufacturers know this dance to slap a fire engine read on a sports coupe. And it's not just a vehicle, it's a statement of power, speed, and unapologetic confidence. Slip behind the wheel, and you're not just driving, you're commanding, emboldened by that hue's bold promise. Now shift to blue, and the tempo changes. It's the color of serenity, trust, and cool-headed clarity. Think of the deep azure in a bank's logo or the crisp navy of a tech giant like IBM. Studies pile up on this. Blue slows your breathing, steadies your nerves, making it a go-to for boardrooms where focus is king or hospital walls where calm is a bomb. Green sweeps in with a different vibe, nature's embrace, evoking rolling hills, rustling leaves, and the quiet hope of a fresh start. Companies deck their offices in green to spark creativity, to coax out-of-the-box ideas from tired minds, though it carries a shadow, the green-eyed monster of envy, a cultural echo of its complex pull. Politicians not read ties to radiate authority on a debate stage. Therapists paint waiting rooms, blue to hush racing thoughts. Interior designers weave green into kitchens to inspire culinary daring. Every shade carries a script, tweaking your emotions and choices without a whisper. Ever thrown on a black jacket and felt instantly sharper? That's color's hand at work. It's no accident marketers spend millions testing hues, knowing red sells fries, blue seals trust, green stirs peace. Next time you pick a scarf or repaint a wall, pause. You're not just choosing a look, you're scripting your mood, your moves, your very presence, all guided by tones you barely notice. What if a sugar pill could melt away a pounding headache? It sounds like a fairy tale, but the placebo effect turns that whimsy into reality, a testament to the mind's quiet might. Picture this: a doctor, with all the gravitas of a sage, hands you a small white tablet. "This will ease the pain," he says, voice steady. You swallow it down, and within 30 minutes, the throbbing in your skull softens, fades, vanishes, only to learn later it was nothing but sugar pressed into a circle. This isn't sleight of hand. It's your brain stepping up. When you buy into a cure, your mind unleashes a flood of natural chemicals, endorphins to dull the ache, dopamine to lift the fog, rewiring your body's response from the inside out. Brain scans back this up. Placebo triggers light up the same neural pathways as real painkillers, a physical echo of belief's power. It's not limited to headaches either. Give an anxious soul a calming tonic, just water, and their jitters ease. Hand an athlete a performance booster, sugar syrup, and they shave seconds off their sprint. Ancient healers leaned on this, chanting over herbs or waving talismans, banking on faith to spark relief. Modern science nods in agreement. One study: fake knee surgeries. Doctors sliced skin, stitched it up, did nothing else, yet patients hobbled in, swearing they walked taller, convinced the sham fixed them. It's not about ditching real medicine, antibiotics cure infections, surgery mends bones, but about amplifying it with your head's own pharmacy. Think of a child with a scraped knee, sobbing until a brightly colored Band-Aid goes on suddenly. It feels better, not because of adhesive, but trust. Skeptics roll their eyes, but the data stacks high. Suggestion sways blood pressure, steadies moods, even boosts stamina. It's a partnership. Your thoughts don't just cheer from the sidelines, they play the game. Next time you pop an aspirin, consider this. Part of its kick might be your own conviction, a Stoic twist on harnessing what you control to heal what you feel. Why do we keep chasing the same jagged hearts, even when we've seen the wreckage they leave behind? John Bowlby's attachment theory digs into this, rooting our romantic tangles in the cradle bays that shaped us. Your earliest bonds, those with mom, dad, or whoever tucked you in, don't just fade into memory. They carve a blueprint for every hug, fight, and tear that follows. Kids wrapped in steady, Warm love grows secure. Think of a toddler tumbling off a tricycle, scooped up with a laugh and a kiss. She learns trust is a rock, not a reed, and carries that into adulthood. Relationships built on mutual ease, honest talks, no dread of abandonment shadowing her steps. Anxious types got a flicker instead affection one day, distance the next, a caregiver who'd cuddle then vanish. They grow up wired for worry, hearts racing if a call goes unanswered, texting "Are you mad?" when silence stretches too long, desperate for proof they're still wanted. Avoidant souls drew the short straw, cold shoulders, sparse comfort, a childhood lesson that closeness stings. They build walls, dodge intimacy, prize solitude over vulnerability. A hug feels like a trap, not a gift. Picture a kid ignored when he cried later. He'll brush off a partner's "I need you" with a shrug, or once mothered with hovering love, now demanding hourly check-ins. These patterns aren't quirks, they're echoes, replaying in every "I miss you" or "icy" stare. But they're not life sentences. Therapy cracks the mold, hours unpicking old hurts, spotting triggers like a flinch at a quiet phone or a chill at a touch. An anxious lover learns to breathe through doubt, not flood your inbox. An avoidant one risks a hand held, not a step back. Stoics would nod here. You can't rewrite your first chapter, but you own the pen now. It's grueling years of facing ghosts, but it's liberation, forging ties that heal instead of haunt. You're not your past's prisoner, you're its architect, free to build anew. Ever scoured your cluttered desk for car keys, oblivious to a fat spider perched an inch from your hand? That's inattentional blindness, your brain's filter, tuning out the glaring when you're laser-focused elsewhere. It's not a flaw, it's a feature, a gatekeeper sorting chaos. In a famous experiment, viewers watched a basketball game, tasked with counting passes between white-shirted players mid-clip. A person in a gorilla suit strolled through, thumping its chest. Half the watchers missed it entirely, eyes glued to the ball, proving attention's a tight beam, not a wide net. Test it yourself, hunch your phone while clutching it, blind to its weight in your palm. It's why you miss a friend's slumped shoulders, lost in your email, or a red light, staring at a GPS arrow. The stakes climb, drivers plow into cyclists, surgeons overlook a bleeding vein, all because their spotlight shrank. It's not stupidity, it's bandwidth. Your mind's a juggler with one ball at a time, dropping the rest. Stoics would urge, choose your focus. Life's gorillas slip past if you don't lift your head. Ever ignored a blazing sunset, thumbing a text? Or a child's quiet "look at me" mid-task? It's a jolt. What you tune out might outweigh what you chase. Train your gaze, pause, sweep the room, really see. The obvious lingers, begging notice if you let it break through. We can't slip into someone's skull, but theory of mind gifts us a social sixth sense, a compass for navigating the unseen worlds behind every face. It starts young, a toddler clocks that mom's sharp no isn't dad's gentle later, piecing together that others think, feel, differ. We learn to read eyes, a flicker of hurt, a spark of glee, our stones, decode a shrug, guessing what churns beneath. It's how you know a co-worker's "I'm fine" masks a rough night, or a stranger's tight smile hides nerves at a checkout line. This hums in every exchange, easing a pall's load after a sigh, sidestepping a waiter's edge from a clipped reply. A kid grasps her brother's grin at a new toy isn't hers, she hands it over. Bonds deepen. It's the engine of empathy, knitting us tight. Without it, we're islands adrift. But it's a double-edged blade. Psychopath wield it cold, sniffing out fear to twist, charm to fleece, untouched by the pain they sow. They'll spot your soft spots, spin a sob story, pocket your trust, all while feeling zilch. Most of us bend it kinda, catch a spouse's droop, brew tea, skip the third degree. It's not foolproof. Misread a glare as hate, not exhaustion, and you're sparring over nothing. Sharpen it, listen past chatter, weigh the why did they snap from spite or stress. Stoics align here, seek to know, not to own. It's your bridge to others, cross it with grace. And it's treasure, twist it, and it cuts. Used right, it's the pulse of connection, threading us into something bigger. Ever shelled out for a game that flopped, then raved about its pixel art anyway? That's cognitive dissonance, your mind's frantic shuffle when actions and truth collide. You dropped $60, it's a bore, so you spin a yarn, the soundtrack's epic, really. Smokers hack through one more's no big deal. Dieters swipe a donut, swearing it's just today. A toxic lover's rage gets he's passionate deep down. It's a mental bandage, softening the sting of regret or shame, but it's a sly jailer. The deeper you dig, you'll quit next week. She's just stressed, the thicker the web, tangling you in your own excuses. Picture a smoker brushing off a cough, insisting it's allergies, or a woman glossing over a partner's venom. He didn't mean it until the mirror cracks. It's a snowball, rolling from a fib to a fog that blinds. Breaking free starts with a gut check. I'm ducking the truth. Stoics would push this stare down reality, not the cozy lie. Ever stayed up late, bleary-eyed, claiming I thrive at night? Catch the twist, unravel it, it's brutal, peeling back layers of self-deceit, but it's a lifeline. Clarity cuts the knot, hands you the wheel to steer straight, free of the stories you tell to sleepy. Spot a beggar on the curb, what's your take? Lazy bones or hard luck? That's attribution theory at play, your lens for pinning why people do what they do. Internal attribution points the finger inward, he won't hustle. External looks out, life dealt him a bust. We skew inside, quick, a rude driver's a jerk, not racing his kid to the ER. It's the fundamental attribution error, over baking character, under cooking context. A snippy barista's a grump, maybe her dog just died. The full scene hides, we leap anyway. It misfires, snap calls, spark rose, mistruths. Imagine a late friend, he's flaky, not his train derailed. Stoics would pause, you don't know their freight. Stretch your view, why be they yell? Stumble? Plead. A guy cuts you off, arrogance, or a crying baby in back. Empathy stirs, rash fades. It's not excusing, it's peering. Actions bloom from roots you can't always unearth, judge slow. Dig deeper, see the tangle beneath the surface. We hunt what nods at us, shun what jabs. Flat earthers scour, fringe blogs, deaf to science, confirmation bias in full strut. It's a warm blanket, you're right always, snagging crumbs that fit. Social media's a megaphone, liking bikes floods your feed with gears, not gravity. Skip a headline from that rag. You're dodging, not discerning. It's rampant, politics, diets, spats. Ever trashed a study, clashing your stance unopened? That's it, truth bends to your throne. Stoics prized reason, probe, don't pant. Algorithms lock you tighter, serving echoes of your clicks. Bust out, might I be wrong? Bites. Try it, read the enemy's case, chew it slow. Growth's gritty, messy, but it's gold, slicing bubbles for a wider, truer lens on the world. A dazzling grin hooks you, he's smart, kind, a star. That's the halo effect, one gleam gilds all. A stunner's pegged clever though he flubs, a plain guy's dim though he shines. Games with slick covers, flop hype's halo dazzles. It's instant, slick, charm buffs everything. Flipitis card vets skipped, wisdom unseen. Stoics cut through, see what's real, not what glints. Ever hired a charmer who crashed? Peel past, shine facts, not flare. It's work, dodging that first flash, but it's fair, truer, rooting you in what stands, not what sparkles. Stoicism's no list topper, but it's the heartbeat here. Marcus Aurelius drilled it, rule your mind, not the madness beyond. These truths memories weave, biases tug fit that creed. Blank on a name, reframe, don't rage. Love sours, learn, don't loop. Spot a kink, tweak it, It's not perfection your head's a storm, but grit. Color sway. Notice? Faith heals. Tap it. Stoics saw life's churn controls yours, not fate's. This lens flips flaws to fuel. A drifting focus tightens with drill. A rash call slows with breath. It's a compass through mental wilds, guiding you to peace in chaos, strength in stumbles. These 11 wonders, from memory's quirks to judgment's veils, lay bare your mind's vast sway over every step you tread. They're not quirks, they're stoic ways, torch tools to own your edge, still your soul, live with purpose. Which hit you hardest? Spill it below, let's stir the pot. Subscribe for more, and stick around for our next podcast, where Ethan and Isabella dive deep into these sparks with raw, electric fire. Keep seeking, keep standing, see you there.
All right, ready to dive deep into the human mind.
Always.
You sent over some notes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this one's from Stoic Way.
Okay.
It's called Mind-Blowing Revelations, 11 Ways Your Brain Shapes Your Life.
Cool.
And wow, it's packed with fascinating insights about how our brains work.
Yeah.
Really, all with like a Stoic twist.
A stoic lens.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be exploring all kinds of stuff, memory tricks, the psychology of color,
Oh, cool.
even how our childhood shapes our love lives as
Yeah,
adults.
it's fascinating stuff.
Seriously, get ready for some major aha moments.
It's not just about the what of these concepts, though.
Yeah.
It's about the why.
Right.
You know, understanding the reasons behind our thoughts and behaviors can be really empowering.
Yeah,
And that's where that stoic connection is really powerful.
exactly. So let's start with this whole photographic memory thing.
Okay.
I remember reading about people who can remember everything, like entire books, decks of cards, you name it.
Yeah.
Is this a real thing or just Hollywood magic?
So the idea of perfect, effortless photographic memory, it's largely a myth.
Oh, okay.
But this article highlights some really incredible cases, like
Yeah.
Solomon Shereshevsky,
Okay.
this Russian journalist
Oh, right.
with an almost unbelievable ability to recall details.
Wow.
He could remember lists of random words, even years later.
That's incredible. So how did he do it? Was it some superpower?
Not quite a superpower,
Oh.
but a technique
Okay.
called the memory palace.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so imagine like creating a mental map in your mind.
Okay.
It could be your childhood home, a favorite park, even a fantastical castle.
Right.
Then you associate facts or information with vivid images or sensations.
Okay.
Like you're placing them within those locations. Think of it like
Yeah.
mentally pinning notes to different spots on your map.
Okay, that's starting to make sense.
Yeah.
But how would that work in practice? Like, could I use this to remember my grocery list?
Absolutely. So let's say you need to buy milk, bananas, and eggs.
Okay.
Picture walking through your mental palace and placing each item in a specific location, but with a twist.
Okay.
Like imagine a giant banana bursting through your front door,
Okay, I like where this is going.
a carton of milk overflowing from the bathtub,
Yeah.
and a flock of chickens nesting in your living room.
Wow.
The more absurd and memorable the image,
Right.
the better you'll recall it later.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. It's like turning my mind into a bizarre art gallery.
Exactly. And the best part is anyone can use this technique.
Really?
Memory is a skill.
Okay.
That can be trained. The memory palace is just one tool to unlock its potential.
I love it.
And we can even include some resources in the show notes.
Perfect.
For anyone who wants to dive deeper.
Awesome. Now, the article also mentions Kim Peek,
Yes.
the inspiration for Rain Man. What was his story?
So Tim Peake was another fascinating case. He had this incredible memory. He was capable of memorizing entire books,
Wow.
reciting historical dates, phone numbers, anything you threw at him.
Really?
But, as the article points out, his exceptional abilities came with challenges in other areas of his life.
Oh, okay.
He struggled with social interactions and basic tasks.
That's both fascinating and a little bittersweet.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even extraordinary mental abilities can have unexpected complexities.
Absolutely. The human mind is so diverse with its own unique strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
And while we may not all possess savant-like abilities, we can still learn and improve our cognitive skills through practice and the right techniques.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about something a little more colorful, literally.
Okay.
I've always been drawn to certain colors,
Mm-hmm.
but I never really considered how they might be influencing my mood
Yeah.
or my choices.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does the article say about the psychology of color?
Oh, this is one of my favorite sections.
Okay.
So it turns out color psychology is everywhere, particularly in marketing. Have you ever noticed how many fast food restaurants use red and yellow?
I hadn't really thought about it consciously.
Yeah,
But now that you mention it, those colors do seem to be everywhere in the fast food world.
right.
So why is that?
Well, think about what those colors evoke.
Okay.
Red is associated with energy, urgency, and it even stimulates your appetite.
Hmm.
Yellow brings feelings of warmth, optimism,
Right.
and it's incredibly attention-lapping. Put them together, and you've got this subtle nudge to eat quickly and move on.
Wow, that's surprisingly clever.
Yeah, it's like subliminal messaging through color.
Exactly.
And it goes beyond fast food. Think about banks and tech companies. They often rely heavily on blue in their branding.
Oh, that's true. I wonder why they chose that particular color.
Well, blue is associated with feelings of trust, stability,
Right.
security.
Yeah.
It projects this image of reliability and competence, which is exactly what those institutions want to convey.
It's amazing how much thought goes into something as seemingly simple as color choice. I'm starting to see the world in a whole new light.
And the article doesn't stop there. It delves into how green is associated with nature, creativity, but also envy.
Wow.
So the colors you choose to wear,
Yeah.
decorate with, or even surround yourself with in your daily life can have a bigger impact than you might realize.
You're making me rethink my entire wardrobe.
Well, maybe. But on a serious note,
Uh-huh.
being mindful of color psychology can be a powerful tool.
Right.
Whether you're choosing an outfit for a big presentation, designing your living space, or even just trying to create a more positive and productive environment,
Yeah.
understanding the impact of color can make a real difference.
This is mind-blowing. I'm starting to think this deep dive should come with a warning label.
Oh, I know, Matt.
Okay, next up is something I've always found fascinating. The placebo effect. Can you break down what this is and how it works?
Sure. So the placebo effect is essentially the power of belief in healing. The article gives the example of a sugar pill relieving a headache.
Right.
When you believe that a treatment will work,
Yeah.
your brain can trigger real, measurable, physical changes.
So it's like mind over matter.
Yeah.
Just thinking something will work can actually make it happen.
Well, it's not quite that simple,
Okay.
but the mind definitely plays a powerful role.
Right.
Researchers are discovering that when we believe in a treatment, our brains release specific neurochemicals
Okay.
that have a real impact on our bodies. For example, studies have shown that placebos can be effective for a range of conditions,
Wow.
from pain relief to anxiety,
Huh.
sometimes even rivaling the effects of actual medications.
I remember hearing about a study where people with knee problems underwent fake surgery
Oh, wow.
and still experienced relief,
Right.
simply because they believed they had a real procedure. That's incredible and a little unsettling at the same time.
I know. It makes you wonder how much of our experience is shaped by our beliefs.
Exactly.
The placebo effect really highlights the interconnectedness of the mind and body.
Yeah.
Our thoughts, expectations, and belief can have such a profound impact on our physical and mental well-being.
Right.
It's a testament to the power of the mind to influence our reality.
Okay, now let's delve into the world of relationships.
Okay.
The article mentions attachment theory,
Yes.
which I've heard of before, but I'm still not entirely sure what it means. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. So attachment theory essentially explores how our early childhood experiences,
Okay.
particularly our relationships with our caregivers, shape our relationship patterns as adults.
So you're saying that how our parents treated us as babies
Mm-hmm.
can impact how we love and connect with people as adults.
It can, yeah. It really is a powerful concept.
That's pretty powerful.
The article describes 3 main attachment styles:
Okay.
secure, anxious, and avoidant.
Right.
And each style has a different way of approaching and experiencing love, all stemming from those early childhood interactions.
That makes sense. Can you give me some examples of what each attachment style looks like in a relationship?
Of course. So let's start with the secure attachment style.
Okay.
People with a secure attachment style generally feel comfortable with intimacy and closeness.
Okay.
They're typically trusting in relationships and don't constantly worry about being abandoned or rejected. This style often develops when individuals had consistent and loving caregivers growing up,
Mm-hmm.
providing that secure base from which they could explore the world.
That sounds like the ideal scenario.
It is.
What about the other styles?
So, individuals with an anxious attachment style
Okay.
tend to be more prone to worry and insecurity in relationships.
Yeah.
They might crave constant reassurance from their partners and fear rejection or abandonment. This often stems from having caregivers who were inconsistently available,
Right.
sometimes attentive and loving, sometimes distant or unresponsive,
Mm-hmm.
leading to anxiety about the stability of love and connection.
I can see how that would lead to insecurities in relationships.
Absolutely.
What about the avoidance style?
Okay, so people with an avoidant attachment style often prioritize independence,
Okay.
and they might feel uncomfortable with too much emotional closeness.
Yeah.
They might struggle to express their feelings openly or rely on others for support. This style often develops when caregivers were emotionally distant or unavailable,
Oh, okay.
leading the child to suppress their needs for connection and learn to self-soothe.
Wow, this is all making so much sense. It's incredible how these early experiences can have such a lasting impact on how we relate to others romantically.
Yeah.
But does this mean we're destined to repeat the same patterns forever?
Well, not necessarily. It's
No.
important to remember that attachment styles aren't set in stone. With awareness and effort, we can learn to recognize our own patterns and develop healthier ways of relating to our partners. And this is where that Stoic concept of taking responsibility for our emotional responses comes into play.
So we're not doomed to repeat the same relationship mistakes over and over again?
Not at all.
That's definitely reassuring.
We have the power to change and grow.
Right.
Understanding our attachment style is just a valuable first step in creating more fulfilling and meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
It allows us to identify our own needs, communicate them effectively to our partners, and foster greater understanding and connection.
That's fantastic.
And we'll provide some resources in the show notes as well,
Perfect.
for anyone who wants to explore this topic further.
This is also eye-opening. Okay, before we move on to the next mind-blowing revelation, let's...
Actually, I think this is a great place to pause for now. We've already covered a lot of ground, and I wouldn't want to overload you with too much information at once.
You're right. We want to make sure our listener has time to digest all these amazing insights.
Yeah.
So we'll pick up right where we left off
Okay.
in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of the human mind.
Yeah.
Last time we explored the myth of photographic memory,
Mm-hmm.
discovered the
Oh, yeah.
subtle power of color psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and even uncovered how our childhood experiences can shape our adult relationships through attachment theory.
It's amazing stuff, isn't it?
Really incredible. Ready to continue our journey?
Absolutely. We've got a whole lineup of mind-bending concepts to unpack.
Perfect. So let's jump right in with a topic that I think everyone can relate to. Inattentional blindness.
Oh, yeah.
You know that feeling when you're searching high and low for something,
Yeah.
only to realize it was right in front of you the whole time?
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Inattentional blindness describes how we can completely miss these obvious details, even when they're right in our field of vision, simply because our attention is focused elsewhere.
It's like our brains have blinders on, filtering out anything that doesn't seem immediately relevant.
Yeah.
The article mentions a classic experiment that perfectly illustrates this phenomenon, something about a gorilla, right?
Yes, the invisible gorilla experiment is a famous example.
Okay.
Participants were asked to watch a video of people passing basketballs and count the number of passes made by a specific team.
Okay.
During the video, a person in a gorilla suit walks right through the scene, even stopping to beat their chest.
No way.
Amazingly, about half of the participants completely missed the gorilla.
Wait, seriously? They didn't even notice a gorilla scrolling through the middle of the action?
Nope.
That's wild. It's like our brains just decided that the gorilla wasn't important enough to register?
Exactly. And it's not because they weren't paying attention. They were intensely focused on the task of counting passes. And their brains essentially filtered out the irrelevant information, even something as noticeable as a gorilla.
Wow. That's both fascinating and a little bit scary. I mean, if we can miss something as obvious as a gorilla, what else are we missing in our daily lives?
That's a great question, and it highlights the potential downsides of inattentional blindness, right?
Right.
It's not just about missing a funny moment in a video. It can have serious real-world consequences.
Yeah.
Like, the article discusses how inattentional blindness can contribute to car accidents,
Oh, wow.
medical errors,
Yeah.
and even missed opportunities in our personal and professional lives.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see the potential impact of this. So how can we avoid falling prey to inattentional blindness? Do we need to constantly be on high alert, scanning our surroundings for every little detail?
Not necessarily. The key is to be mindful of our focus and cultivate a more expansive awareness.
Okay.
The article suggests, taking deliberate pauses throughout the day
Okay.
to just observe your surroundings and broaden your attention. It's about being present in the moment, noticing the details, and not getting too caught up in our own internal chatter.
That makes sense. It's like we
Yeah.
need to train ourselves to look beyond our immediate focus and take in the bigger picture, allowing for the possibility of unexpected things entering our awareness.
Exactly. And it ties in beautifully with Stoic principles,
Right.
mindfulness, being present in the moment.
Yeah.
By cultivating a more expansive awareness, we not only reduce the chances of missing those gorillas in our lives, but also enhance our overall experience of the world around us.
I love that. It's like a simple shift in perspective can have a ripple effect on so many aspects of our lives.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, next on our list of mind-blowing revelations is theory of mind.
Okay.
What exactly is theory of mind, and why is it so important?
So theory of mind is our ability to understand that other people have their own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and perspectives, which may differ from our own. It's what allows us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, so to speak,
Right.
and understand their motivations and behaviors.
So it's like having a built-in empathy machine.
Yeah, kinda.
That makes a lot of sense. After all, we can't truly connect with others unless we can understand where they're coming from.
Exactly. Theory of mind is essential for navigating those social interactions,
Yeah.
building relationships, and understanding the complexities of human behavior.
Right.
The article gives some everyday examples
Right.
of how theory of mind operates, like interpreting a coworker's "I'm fine" when they clearly seem upset,
Oh, yeah.
or understanding a child's nonverbal cues when they're trying to communicate something they can't yet put into words.
It's amazing to think about how much we rely on this ability,
Yeah.
often without even realizing it. Without theory of mind, we'd be constantly misinterpreting each other's actions and intentions, leading to all sorts of social blunders and misunderstandings.
Oh, absolutely. Theory of mind is the foundation of successful communication and collaboration.
Yeah?
It allows us to anticipate how others might react in certain situations, negotiate conflicts effectively,
Right.
and build trust and rapport with those around us.
It's what makes us social creatures.
Exactly.
But I imagine there's a potential downside to this as well, right? Could someone use their understanding of others' minds for manipulative purposes?
That's a really important point. So while theory of mind is generally a force for good, it can unfortunately be used for less noble purposes. The article briefly touches on how individuals with, manipulative tendencies can leverage their understanding of others' minds to exploit or deceive them.
That's a chilling thought. It's like a dark side to this otherwise essential ability.
It is a reminder that even our most valuable mental tools can be misused.
Yeah.
But for the vast majority of people, theory of mind serves as a foundation for empathy, compassion, and understanding.
Yeah.
It allows us to connect with others on a deeper level and build more meaningful relationships.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about another concept that I'm sure many of us have experienced, cognitive dissonance.
Okay.
I've definitely had moments where my belief clash with my actions,
Yeah.
leaving me feeling uncomfortable and conflicted.
Oh, for sure. Cognitive dissonance is that unsettling feeling we get when our actions don't align with our beliefs or values.
Right.
It's like this internal alarm bell going off,
Yeah.
signaling or something is out of sync.
I know that feeling all too well.
The article provides some very relatable examples, like defending a bad purchase or rationalizing unhealthy habits.
Oh, like when I stay up late binge watching a show, even though I know I have an early meeting the next day and I need to get a good night's sleep.
Yes, exactly.
The guilt is real.
Oh, we've all been there.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of cognitive dissonance in action. We know we should be doing one thing, but we end up doing something else entirely, creating that internal conflict.
But the article suggests that cognitive dissonance can be more than just a fleeting feeling of discomfort, right? Could it actually lead us down a dangerous path?
It can if we're not careful.
Okay.
The danger lies in how we respond to that discomfort.
Right.
If we're not mindful, we can easily fall into this pattern of rationalizing our actions to the point where we're no longer being honest with ourselves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we start making excuses, justifying our behavior,
Right.
and ultimately reinforcing those negative patterns. It can become a slippery slope of self-deception.
So it's important to be aware of when we're experiencing cognitive dissonance.
Yes,
And to challenge those rationalizations before they take root.
absolutely.
But how do we do that? It's not always easy to confront our own inconsistencies.
You're absolutely right. It takes courage and self-awareness to face those uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
Yeah.
But the Stoic approach offers a really powerful framework for navigating this challenge.
Okay.
It encourages us to confront those uncomfortable truths head on and strive to align our actions with our values, even when it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's about being honest with ourselves, even when it hurts.
That sounds like a powerful way to break free from those self-defeating patterns and live a more authentic and fulfilling life.
It really is.
Okay, let's move on to another intriguing concept, attribution theory.
Right?
This one sounds a little more academic,
All right.
but I'm sure it has real-world implications.
Oh, definitely. So attribution theory is all about how we explain the behavior of ourselves and others.
Okay.
It explores the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of why people do what they do.
Right.
The article uses the example of encountering a beggar on the street
Okay.
and making assumptions about their situation.
So it's like we're all amateur psychologists constantly trying to decipher the motivations behind people's actions.
Exactly. We're naturally curious creatures,
Yeah.
always seeking to understand the world around us, including the people in it.
Right, right.
But the article highlights a common pitfall in our attributions.
Okay.
Something called the fundamental attribution error.
Ooh, that sounds serious. What is the fundamental attribution error, and why should we be aware of it?
So it's our tendency to overemphasize internal factors like personality traits and underestimate external factors like situational influences when explaining the behavior of others.
Okay.
It's like we jump to conclusions about a person's character
Right.
without considering the full context of their actions.
Can you give me an example? I'm sure we've all experienced this at some point.
Absolutely. So imagine you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off,
Oh, yeah.
right? Your immediate reaction might be to think, what a jerk.
Yeah, totally.
They're so inconsiderate. But what you might not know is that they're rushing to the hospital because their child is sick.
Right.
Or maybe they just received some devastating news and are in a state of distress.
That's a great example. It's so easy to judge others without knowing the full story.
It is.
We see a snapshot of their behavior and create this whole narrative around it, often without considering all the possible explanations.
Yeah, and that's where the fundamental attribution error can lead us astray.
Right.
We attribute their behavior to these internal flaws rather than considering the external circumstances that might be influencing their actions.
So how do we avoid falling into this trap? Do we need to become super sleuths, investigating the backstory of everyone we encounter?
Well, while a little detective work can be helpful at times,
Yeah.
the Stoic approach offers a more practical solution. Practice empathy.
Okay.
It encourages us to consider alternative explanations for people's behavior, recognizing that we rarely have the full picture.
Right.
It's about suspending judgment, assuming good intentions, and offering compassion even when it's challenging.
That's a beautiful reminder.
It is.
It's so easy to get caught up in our own perspectives and forget that everyone is carrying their own unseen burdens and navigating their own unique challenges.
Absolutely. By practicing empathy and extending compassion,
Yeah.
we not only create a more harmonious social environment, but also cultivate a greater sense of peace within ourselves.
Okay, moving on to another bias that can really warp our perceptions. Confirmation bias. This one seems especially relevant in today's world of information overload and echo chambers.
Yeah, it really is. Confirmation bias is our tendency to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs
Right.
while ignoring or downplaying information that contradicts those beliefs.
Right.
It's like we're wearing these mental blinders,
Yeah.
filtering out anything that doesn't align with our preconceived notions.
Oh, I can definitely see how this plays out in real life.
Yeah.
We gravitate towards news sources that reinforce our political views, surround ourselves with people who share our opinions, and even interpret ambiguous evidence in a way that supports our existing beliefs.
Exactly. The article uses examples like social media algorithms and selective news consumption
Right.
to illustrate how confirmation bias can create these echo chambers
Yeah.
where we're constantly exposed to information that reinforces our worldview,
Right.
making it difficult to consider alternative perspectives.
It's like we're living in our own little bubbles, insulated from the complexity and diversity of thought that exists outside our carefully curated echo chambers.
It really is, yeah.
And that could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Confirmation bias can lead us to make poor decisions, hold on to false beliefs,
Yeah.
and miss out on valuable insights and opportunities for growth.
It can.
It can even contribute to polarization and conflict, both in our personal relationships and in society as a whole.
Absolutely.
So how do we combat this insidious bias? Do we need to force ourselves to consume content we disagree with or engage in conversations that make us uncomfortable?
Well, while stepping outside our comfort zones is definitely a good practice.
Yeah.
The key to overcoming confirmation bias lies in cultivating intellectual humility and open-mindedness.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that we don't have all the answers,
Right.
being willing to question our own assumptions,
Yeah.
and actively seeking out diverse perspectives.
It's like we need to become our own fact checkers, constantly questioning what we believe and why we believe it.
Exactly. It's a process of ongoing self-reflection and intellectual honesty,
Right.
challenging ourselves to consider alternative viewpoints,
Yep.
being willing to adjust our beliefs in light of new evidence.
Right.
It's not always easy, but it's essential for personal growth and creating a more informed and compassionate world.
I love that. Okay, let's move on to
Okay.
The halo effect.
The halo effect, all right.
I'm curious to learn more about this one.
So the halo effect is this fascinating cognitive bias that describes how our initial impressions of someone can influence how we perceive their other qualities.
Okay.
It's the idea that one positive trait can lead us to view someone more favorably overall.
So it's like when someone is physically attractive,
Mm-hmm.
we might also assume they're intelligent, kind, and trustworthy,
Yeah,
even though we have no real evidence to support those assumptions.
exactly.
Yeah.
The article provides examples of how the halo effect can lead to biased judgments in various areas of life, from hiring decisions and performance evaluations to romantic relationships and even product reviews.
That makes a lot of sense. We're constantly bombarded with information
Yeah,
and have to make these snap judgments based on limited data.
yeah.
It seems like our brains rely on these mental shortcuts
Mm-hmm.
to simplify things and make sense of the world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the halo effect highlights just how powerful those first impressions can be.
Right.
They can create a positive or negative halo around a person,
Yeah.
influencing how we interpret their subsequent actions and behaviors.
So how do we avoid being swayed by the halo effect? Do we need to become hypercritical of our initial impressions, constantly questioning our gut reactions?
Well, while a healthy dose of skepticism is always a good thing,
Yeah.
the key to mitigating the halo effect is to be aware of its influence.
Okay.
And to actively seek more substantial evidence before forming strong opinions about someone.
Yeah.
It's about going beyond those surface-level impressions and gathering more data points before making judgments.
So it's about slowing down our judgment process, being more mindful of our biases,
Mm-hmm.
and gathering a more complete picture of the person before we decide whether they deserve a halo or not.
Exactly. It's about being fair, objective, and avoiding those hasty generalizations that can lead us astray.
Right?
And it ties back to Stoic principles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seeking wisdom, practicing self-control,
Yeah.
not allowing our emotions to cloud our judgment.
This has been an incredible journey so far. We've uncovered so much about how our minds work,
Yeah, I have.
from the quirks of memory to the power of belief, and those subtle ways our brains can distort reality.
It's fascinating.
But we're not done yet, are we?
Not even close. We've still got a few more mind-blowing revelations to explore,
Okay.
including how Stoic philosophy can help us navigate the complexities of the human mind and live more fulfilling lives.
Okay, you've officially piqued my curiosity. I'm ready to dive back in and see what other treasures we can unearth. But first, let's give our listener a moment to process all this amazing information and maybe even try out some of these techniques in their own lives. We'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of the human mind. Stay tuned.
All right, sounds good.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring this fascinating and sometimes quirky world of the human mind.
It is fascinating, yeah.
We've debunked myths about memory,
Mm-hmm.
discovered this hidden language of color, and even uncovered how our childhood experiences can shape our adult relationships.
Right, and we've learned about some common mental pitfalls too, like inattentional blindness,
Yeah.
cognitive dissonance,
Mm-hmm.
and confirmation bias. Those sneaky ways our brains can lead us astray.
Exactly. But it's not all doom and gloom, is it?
No, not at all.
The article we're diving into, Mind-Blowing Revelations, 11 Ways Your Brain Shapes Your Life from Stoic Way.
Yeah.
It also offers some really empowering insights, especially when we view these concepts through that lens of Stoic philosophy.
Absolutely. Stoicism provides this framework for understanding and managing these mental complexities. It emphasizes focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, our judgments, our reactions,
Right.
and accepting what we cannot.
So it's about using this knowledge to become more self-aware
Yeah,
and make choices that align with our values.
precisely. For example, understanding cognitive dissonance can empower us to make healthier choices.
Okay.
Instead of rationalizing that extra slice of cake,
Oh, yeah.
we can pause, acknowledge the conflict between our desire and our health goals,
Right.
and make a conscious decision based on what truly matters to us.
That's a great example. It's like Stoicism gives us a set of tools to navigate those internal battles
Yeah.
and make choices that lead to a more fulfilling life. What about the other concepts we've discussed?
Mm-hmm.
How does Stoicism apply to, say, confirmation bias or the halo effect?
Well, recognizing confirmation bias can help us become more open-minded and receptive to different perspectives. Instead of surrounding ourselves with only those who agree with us,
Right.
we can actively seek out diverse viewpoints,
Yeah.
challenge our own assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
and engage in thoughtful, respectful dialogue.
It's like expanding our mental landscape instead of staying confined to our comfortable echo chambers.
Exactly. And when it comes to the halo effect, Stoicism encourages us to be more discerning in our judgments.
Okay.
Instead of being swayed by superficial qualities or first impressions,
Yeah.
we can take the time to get to know someone, observe their actions,
Right.
and form opinions based on a more complete and balanced picture.
It's about looking beyond the surface and recognizing that everyone, regardless of their appearance or initial impression, has their own unique story and deserves to be treated with fairness and respect.
Precisely. Stoicism reminds us that true wisdom lies in seeing the world clearly, without the distortions of our biases and preconceived notions.
So it's about using our understanding of these psychological concepts to cultivate greater self-awareness,
Yeah.
make more intentional choices,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately live a more meaningful life.
That's the essence of it. It's about taking ownership of our minds, recognizing our strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
and using this knowledge to navigate the complexities of life with wisdom, resilience, and compassion.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive,
Okay.
what's one key takeaway you'd like our listener to remember?
For me, it's the realization that our minds are incredibly powerful,
Yeah.
both for good and for ill.
Right.
The way we think, the way we perceive the world, the stories we tell ourselves, it all shapes our reality.
Right.
But the good news is, we have the power to choose how we use this incredible tool.
That's a powerful reminder. It means we're not just passive passengers in our own lives. We have the ability to shape our experiences, cultivate our minds, and create a more fulfilling reality.
Absolutely. By understanding how our minds work, recognizing our biases, and embracing those principles of Stoicism, we can unlock our true potential and live lives that are both meaningful and fulfilling.
This has been an incredible journey of discovery. I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of myself and the world around me.
Me too.
What about you?
I couldn't agree more. It's amazing how much we can learn when we take the time to explore the inner workings of our own minds.
Right.
And who knows what other fascinating insights we might uncover along the way.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Okay.
But this is just the beginning of your exploration. Remember, understanding your mind is an ongoing journey,
It is.
and there's always more to discover. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep unlocking that incredible potential of your mind.
And don't forget to check out the show notes for additional resources, links to the studies and concepts we've discussed, and some practical tips for applying these insights to your own life.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.
See you later.